This is the Crypto Basics headline. As XRP becomes the asset with the fastest open interest of $1 billion on CME, a commentator predicts that it will see the most infamous surge. Have you ever wondered if purchasing XRP was the right choice for you? Have I chosen a winner? I simply believe that this is more proof that XRP is indeed an early winner in the cryptocurrency sector. As I'll show you a little later in the film, the CEO of a fund management company actually said quite plainly that he thinks people are significantly underestimating the actual need for XRP, and that demand is only going to grow. You simply wait for the final approval of the spot XRP ETFs, which is imminent. Subsequently, there will be numerous other multi-coin exchange-traded funds, ETFs, that will contain a wide variety of assets. Nevertheless, XRP will also be included in a number of these. For instance, we recently learned about this. It comes from the Crypto Basic as well. To develop an American-made cryptocurrency exchange-traded fund, ETF, backed by U.S. origin assets like XRP, Canary Capital registers with the SEC. A long time ago, they filed separately for a spot XRP ETF. Now, they want to create what is essentially a multi-currency ETF, and of course, a coin like XRP would have to be part of it. This is new. I'm telling you people, it's impossible to predict how much money will come into XRP over the course of years and decades as a result of these items. It's also impossible to predict how significant it will be, but it will surely be significant. XRP will be far more valuable than it would be otherwise. Okay, so this is how it reads. After hitting a significant open interest milestone on CME Group, a market analyst predicts that XRP will see the most infamous cryptocurrency rise. To put things in perspective, the CME Group recently declared that the total open interest in its crypto asset market had risen above $30 billion. Among the assets that helped achieve this, XRP became the one that reached $1 billion in open interest the quickest in CME history. Folks, did you hear that? And this is their X account. With 682,000 followers on X, CME Group is the top derivatives marketplace globally. They're the best performance ever, and this is enormous? XRP. How about that then? Folks, this is organic. This demand simply exists. Additionally, this is another reason why I believe it is foolish to suppose that BlackRock will not eventually register for a spot XRP ETF. It will, of course. What people say doesn't matter to me. I don't care what they say in public, even if it's unfavorable or unclear. It will take place. In no way will they allow the competitors to simply take over this market. I don't think that's the case. In any case, peace endures. It's interesting to note that the XRP futures contracts reached this milestone just over 3 months after they were introduced on May 19th, 2025, demonstrating how rapidly institutional and retail markets are becoming interested in XRP. These futures' explosive development indicates tighter spreads and increased liquidity, which frequently result in increased institutional participation. The performance, according to many analysts, also makes the case for a spot XRP exchange-traded fund in the United States stronger. That's definitely true. I'm happy they're noticing it, since that's about the most obvious thing you could have noticed in response to this. It's not a critique, of course. I'm only stating that I completely agree. XRP now has an 82% chance of being approved as an ETF before the end of 2025. According to traders on Polymarket, a number of applications, including those from Canary Capital, Westminster, and Grayscale, are expected to be decided by the SEC in October. You know what makes the time so awesome? Because I support the idea that this will be accepted. That's what I think. If the SEC doesn't approve us, I'll be stunned. That is completely nonsensical. However, the interesting thing is that in terms of scheduling, this might very well occur during alt-off season. I believe it's funny how things work out, which is why I've mentioned it before. Sometimes life is like that. Last market cycle, everything that could have gone wrong for XRP holders did, including the SEC's lawsuit against Ripple, which is essentially an international assault on XRP holders. Because of this, XRP was the only top 10 coin that didn't reach a new all-time high during the previous market cycle. You know what? I take it they were attacked? This is very different. Everything that could go well for holders of XRP has so far occurred in this market cycle, and it will only continue to do so. It's the most awesome thing ever. In fact, we could be able to approve a spot XRP ETF, which would ignite the largest XRP bull run ever. That is something that may actually occur. Therefore, I won't be shocked to witness that. Now, Nate Garatti is a well-liked fund manager and president of Nova DS Wealth, and this is his writing on the subject. According to CME Group, XRP futures contracts have reached over $1 billion in open interest at the quickest rate ever, he said. A little more than 3 months passed. There are currently more than $800 million in XRP ETFs based on futures. I believe the demand for spot XRP ETFs may be underestimated. Exactly right. However, many individuals undervalue XRP, and since XRP simply works, it's always to their detriment. It is a tried and true method that does what Bitcoin cannot. It has existed for more than 10 years. It simply functions. It simply works. The widespread adoption of it by individuals and companies, especially as a treasury reserve asset, is not surprising. To date, at least 7 publicly traded corporations have made public announcements that they have implemented or plan to implement an XRP treasury reserve strategy. So, what do you suppose could be causing that? Because its current value will be dwarfed by its future value. They are aware of this. Degens are not what they are. These businesses are listed on a public exchange. For that reason, I just wanted to let you know that you're not alone if you think XRP makes sense. I wholeheartedly concur with you. However, some of the world's wealthiest and smartest people also believe that you are right. There is no way it could be more. To not see that XRP is an early victor in the cryptocurrency sector and is here to stay, you would have to blatantly ignore reality at this time. In 2025, it is utterly irrational to ignore that. In any case, chart analyst Credible Crypto published this post from Nekarachi saying, "I think people might be underestimating demand for spot XRP." Nekarachi referred to the desire for spot XRPETFS. Credible Crypto responds, "Yeah, they're probably underestimating that." He doesn't dispute that, but he suggests that XRP be used instead. And it's accurate. Since XRP just works, there are a lot of irrational XRP holders who are completely unaware of the extent of the organic demand for XRP in the actual world. Additionally, individuals who are not tribally poisonous Bitcoin maximalists simply wish to invest in things that appear to be excellent opportunities. They are present in our neighborhood. Unlike the Bitcoin crew, they do not consider it a cult. Speaking of demand, Credible Crypto has another post. He claimed that because he anticipated that XRP would outperform Ethereum in the upcoming months, as stated in the thesis below, he converted the remaining Ether equivalent I was holding in the Shred brokerage account, ETHE, to an XRP equivalent. He is therefore convinced that XRP will outperform Ethereum in terms of performance, which is precisely what I have been preaching all year. Given that Ethereum was trading in the gutter a few months ago, I asked, "What's most probable?" and responded, "That's not an indication that Ethereum is dead. Just sometimes things get oversold." As a result, we've had a huge rally back, because Ethereum dropped as low as somewhere around $1,400. At nearly $5,000, it has now reached a new all-time high, indicating a significant recovery. However, I responded, "Well, when that happens, just expect that XRP will fall against Ethereum because there's ground to be made up." In the end, though, you should anticipate that XRP will keep embarrassing Ethereum. If XRP overtakes Ethereum in market capitalization before the end of the cycle, I won't be shocked. If that occurs, I won't be shocked at all. By the way, this is what Credible Crypto had to say. He posted this only about a week ago, on August 18th, I believe. Look at this, please. I'm doing this to confirm that I have the correct chart up here. Indeed, that is the one. Alright, so he mentioned that he had some charts here. Following a 3-month pullback, following a 700% gain off range lows, chart 1 XRP/ETH has now struck my downside region of interest, which is also mid-range. The XRP USD is currently in its 9th month of consolidation, above the greatest monthly close in its history, according to chart 2. That's real strength, people. Notice how long, isn't it amazing that it's been that long? We knew they would arrive eventually once the XRP fireworks began. I kept saying, there's no way, in spite of the SEC's absurdity. And that's the best it would ever do, I continued. It's just ridiculous to me to think that XRP, one of the most practical cryptocurrencies ever created, saw its all-time high on January 4th, 2018. Fundamentals are only becoming stronger despite all this real-world use, That was it. She only wrote that. I never understood the rationale behind that. You would be surprised to learn that XRP is thriving even more and more quickly. Now that it is functioning on an even playing field, the litigation is gone, and the war on cryptocurrency is over. People, all it required was a level playing field. You'll love seeing it now, 9 months later, sitting pretty, people hovering about $3 and not even breaking a sweat. After completing a clean 5-wave rally off of $2,100, Ethereum USD is approaching a previous all-time high in chart 3. As it responds to this completed impulse, it is probably poised for some consolidation. All things considered, it appears that we are approaching the next phase of XRP's superior performance over ETH. He is discussing how XRP is simply outperforming Ethereum in terms of performance. He claims that before resuming their growth, both Bitcoin and XRP spent months consolidating a previous all-time high. This makes sense because it makes sense for holders to start locking in some gains at a previous all-time high following a severe bear market. After completing a clean 5-wave impulse, Ethereum is now, for the first time, getting close to its previous all-time high. Therefore, it is reasonable to predict that before further expansion, some time may pass around these levels for consolidation and assimilation of the move. At a previous all-time high, XRP is concluding its 9th month of consolidation and is probably preparing for its next leg as soon as possible. The XRP ETH chart's confluence at support mid-range strengthens the theory that Ethereum may be cooling off from its most recent surge, while XRP may be preparing for its next one. XRP, the moment to ZRP, it is almost here, a lot earlier than when there will be more fireworks. XRP is not finished. Take note of what I say. XRP is not finished. This cycle has been quite difficult. Since the November election, it has been the top performing coin among the top 100 coins. It's not finished. In terms of performance, it will simply keep destroying the opposition. And when there is a level playing field and it is playing catch-up, this is what occurs once more. There are several. I'm telling you, just before the election, XRP was trading at about 49 cents. I'm not sure what the price would have been had it not been for the SEC onslaught, but it most likely would have already skyrocketed from the previous cycle to somewhere around $10, $11, or $12. Who knows? That's simply something I made up. How high it would have risen is unknown to me. Otherwise, it would have dropped back down if the SEC hadn't gotten involved. It's accurate. Therefore, there would have been a significant drop, but perhaps it would have been closer to $3 before the election, rather than hovering at 49 cents. Who knows? In other words, the artificial price suppression gave it plenty of opportunity to catch up. And people, it's not finished. Simply put, things will improve. Then, Canary Capital filed with the SEC to introduce a cryptocurrency exchange-traded fund, ETF, that is American-made and backed by assets of U.S. origin such as XRP. All right, simply put, if there is a market for something, then go for it. I've always believed that this is some sort of American-made cryptocurrency. Since it contradicts the decentralized structure of cryptocurrency, I think it's just really dumb. It really does, you know? And it's all right if you have a decentralized cryptocurrency. Therefore, XRP and other popular coins made in the US are completely irrelevant. If a coin is decentralized, the country in which its originator resided is irrelevant. At that point, it simply doesn't matter. I am aware that earlier this year, Trump promoted that story. I'm simply being honest when I say that if that's what people want, then go for it. Considering that it literally doesn't matter, that doesn't make much logical sense to me. It is something that is being tracked, but it doesn't matter. This is CoinMarketCap, which shows the top American-made tokens based on market capitalization. Do you know what the first number is? XRP. With a market value of about $180 billion, it is the biggest coin in the Made in America category. At $110 billion, Solana would come in second. It is therefore far less valuable than XRP. The next one is that. From there, it simply drops down sharply. I always take it for what it is, to reiterate. Even though I think this category is ridiculous, if people are going to find it, then so be it. Free market, do whatever the heck you want. The sales of XRP will likely increase significantly, I suppose. But take a look at this. Technically speaking, we have no idea what will be in here, but I believe we have a general idea. The American-made crypto ETF is a niche digital asset ETF that ProMed asset manager Canary Capital has filed with the US SEC to create. Canary has filed an S-1 document with the SEC announcing its plan to introduce a new ETF that will hold a basket of cryptocurrencies with ties to the US. The fund will only track the Made in America blockchain index, which is mainly composed of cryptocurrencies with close ties to the United States. Crypto assets that were either developed in the US, were mostly mined or coined there, or had protocol operations predominantly located there, will be included in the ETF. The petition states that the fund hopes to increase investor benefits by engaging in specific network activities, such as staking, if allowed. All right, yet to the best of my knowledge, they have not made it known which currencies will be used in this. The idea that XRP might not be included in an American-made cryptocurrency exchange-traded fund is incomprehensible. The most popular Made in America coin is XRP. That would be absurd. Additionally, this company is pro-XRP because they have already applied for a SPO, TXRP ETF. They are aware that the market desires this product. That's pretty much a given. However, the cool thing is that it's simply another thing. Additionally, people will purchase it regardless of how successful it is. This implies that additional XRP will be bought in order to support this initiative. This is how it operates. These ETFs are important because of this. They have a significant global influence on the actual dynamics of XRP's supply and demand. It's significant XRP would therefore be included in this multi-coin ETF in addition to all of the others. It's just cool then. Once more, everything is proceeding according to your wishes. The way this cycle has developed is exactly what you would want if you own XRP. We deserve this, even though it's the complete reverse of the previous market cycle. We made it, people, even though our neighborhood has been through a lot. Being a holder of XRP is fantastic. In my opinion, there's never been a better moment in history to own XRP.